And we are on air.
Hi guys, my name is Brianna, and today I'm going to be showing you how to wrap presents when you don't have wrapping paper. So let's get right into the video. So I'll admit, these ideas aren't the most extravagant. I'm sure many people have thought of things similar to this, but I feel like I'm pretty good at wrapping, so I wanted to show you guys. So I didn't want to wrap actual gifts because then people would see what I got them. So today I'll be wrapping a tissue box, an empty Pop-Tarts box, and an empty Rice Krispie Treats box. So let's get to wrapping. Okay, so here is where I'm going to be wrapping these boxes. So the first idea I have is simply plain white paper. Most people have computer paper in their house, just need a couple of sheets, and then the only other thing you will need is scissors and tape. I have two different kinds of tape, double-sided tape and regular tape, but you don't really need either one specifically, or you don't need both, whatever you just have lying around your house. There are some other optional things for wrapping this that you could use, but we'll get to that. So with this, I'm going to wrap the Pop-Tart box. So the first thing you want to do is just wrap like a normal present. You want to get a piece of tape, whatever your preferred tape is or that you have in your house. You want to take this first piece flat, fold it over, tape it up. Then it's going to be loose. You want to get another piece of tape, pull this tight, pull the other side up, and toss a piece of tape there. But now you might notice that this doesn't have full coverage. So we're going to fold down these side flaps, but then we're going to get another piece of paper. So let's start with this top over here. We're going to grab a piece of tape, and we're going to fold down this first flap, and then fold this down over it, which is then going to make a fold here. But now we don't want this to come undone, so we're going to plop a piece of tape down on there, and then make this edge harsh. Then we're going to grab another piece of tape, and on the other side do a very similar thing. Now we're going to be combining these two and folding down this flap here. So now your box is going to have this on it, which is going to be covered up a little bit more when we have our next piece of paper. But now we're on the bottom. We're going to do the same thing on the bottom. Okay, now that you have your first piece of paper all taped down, you got to get one more piece of paper. So you just want to make sure it covers all of the empty space. Then you're going to grab your tape, and right where you found was covering all the empty space, just going to put some tape on one side of it, and then get another piece of tape, and once again make sure it's pulled tight like the first piece of paper was, and then put that one more piece of tape. And then here and here we're just going to do the same thing we did before. So now you have a completely wrapped box, and you just want to look for any loose parts of it and tape them down. Now one thing I will say is over here there is a little smidge of a blue part that you can see through it, but you could always cut a tinier piece of paper and put that over it, or if it didn't really matter, it wouldn't really matter. Now we're not done with this because we're going to get to an optional part later, but as for wrapping with paper, that's it. Easy, simple. Two pieces of paper wrapped this box, but depending on the size of your box, you might need more. But pretty much just like regular wrapping with wrapping paper, but with paper. So now we're going to do it, similar idea, but a little bit different with Rice Krispie Treat box and construction paper. So It's kind of the same idea, but it's a little bit different. Different type of paper. So let's do it. So, first of all, you just want to get to one side of it, just like before. Tape it down. Pull it tight. And then tape it on the other side. And then we're gonna get to our flaps. Could do the same thing as before, but because of the shape of this box, I would do it a little bit differently. I would get just one piece of tape this time for this whole part. I'd put down both of these flaps, fold them tightly, fold this tightly, take the piece of tape, and just tape that flap down, and boom, one piece of tape got that whole part of it. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, now you want to do the same exact thing going the other way with the paper. Okay, now that it's wrapped, you once again want to go and find the edges that are loose, and you want to tape those down. Okay, another thing I noticed, like before, you can see little squares. This time it's a little bit more noticeable, so what I can do and what you can do is just cut out little pieces of square, and you can just tape those on there to cover up that little bit. Because like I said, we're not using wrapping paper here. So that means you don't get to control the size of the paper that you're using, which could make it come out in little bit of awkward spots that aren't covered. But now we have a completely covered box. But once again, we're not done. There are some optional things that can be done to this. We'll get to that in the end. Now we have one last box to wrap, this tissue box. Now the tissue box we're going to be wrapping with, who would have guessed, tissue paper. So I have all these different colors of tissue paper. Obviously not everybody has that, but a lot of times people will have tissue paper for gifts that go in bags, but then they have a box that they want to wrap, and they're like, oh, I don't have another bag to put it in, I don't have wrapping paper. Well, tissue paper may be thin, but you can wrap with tissue paper. So I'm going to show you how. Okay, so the first step for wrapping with tissue paper is you're going to actually want 2 squares of tissue paper overlaying each other that you're going to start off by wrapping with both of them at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to put this box right on top of the tissue paper. And I'm going to do the same type of thing that I did with all the other ones to start with. Go on one side, tape it down, get another piece of tape, pull it tight, and then tape it down. And I'm going to do for the flaps the same thing I did for the construction paper box. Okay, so now that you successfully have the 2 layers of tissue paper on one side, you're going to take another 2 layers of tissue paper and do it on the other side. Okay, so now you have another wrapped present. You do, once again, want to go around, find any loose spots and tape them down. This one looks pretty good, but it does have one little opening, so that'd be up for personal preference if you wanted to cover it up. To cover it up, all I would do is take one sheet of tissue paper, fold it in half, find the size of the spot you need to cover, and then just cut to that size. So for here, I would cut a little strip right here, and then I'd even cut that down to size a little bit, and I would just tape it right here. And then there we go. We have a wrapped present. Now this one, you won't really be able to do the optional things I'm about to tell you with because it is very thin and you can't really write or draw on it, but I can show you some cool things you can do with your presents if you use construction paper or regular paper. But I thought the tissue paper was still a cool idea of how to wrap something. So let's get into the cool details you can give to your gifts. Okay, so here I just have a bunch of Sharpies. You could use any kind of markers, pens, crayons, or anything like that. Now, because it's around Christmas time, I would assume most people are watching this for Christmas gifts. You could just simply write Merry Christmas on it, like this. And that just adds to your wrapping because, like I said, this isn't wrapping paper, so it's kind of boring, so you might want to add your own spark to it. You could write who it's to or that's from you on here. But another cool thing you could do is, like, for example, let's say it's for someone you are friends with. You could write little quotes on it, like you could write, friends forever, with a little heart at the end of it. Or if it was for someone you're in a relationship with, you could write I love you. Or if it's a family member, you could write I love you. Another thing you could do is you could also write quotes on it. Like I once wrapped a present for my boyfriend and I wrote love quotes all over the box. So an example would be, this quote is a John Green quote. I'm doing this off the top of my head, so if I get one or two words wrong, I'm sorry. I fell in love with you like I fall asleep. Slowly, and then all at once. So I wrote that. You could also write inside jokes with your friends on here or anything like that. That's just some examples of things you could write on your box. Wrote a lot of different things on here. Obviously, I would fill up the whole box if I was actually making this for someone. Now, another thing you could do is actually do little drawings if you want to fill the box with little hearts all over the place. That could be cute. Or if you wanted to do a little butterfly or something, that could be really cute. That's easy to draw. And you could do butterflies all over the place. That's what I drew, my tiny little butterflies. They're kind of cute, I think. And those could be just little designs you could make on it. Or if you're good at drawing, you could really draw something. But I'm not, so I would probably stick to doing things like smiley faces. Or if you want to just do random shapes, you could make it look cute or cool. You could do triangles all over the place. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It could just be random stuff, little circles. Maybe if you do them all over the place, they could be polka dots. But if you're really good at drawing, you could literally just draw something on here. But I think these are kind of cool because you could just do little simple stuff and then you don't have to buy wrapping paper and it looks really nice just on here. Or you can write things which can also be super personal. But honestly, I prefer this type of stuff to doing wrapping paper because it just adds a more personal element to it. But yeah. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Happy VEDID, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Mwah!